Now, as you heard, Tumelo Madlala, the friend and witness to the murder of Senzo Meyiwa, ended that testimony in the North Gauteng High Court today. Madlala was re-examined by the state, ending a week of evidence following days of grilling by defense advocate Zandile Mshololo. Joining us now is Ian Allis, who's a criminal law expert, for some analysis of what happened in court. And Ian, you've been watching this very closely. What do you make of the state's witnesses' testimony so far? There are some discrepancies, but he still seems to be sticking to his version of events.
The thing is, good afternoon, Clement, and good afternoon to the viewers. The witness has found himself in a very tricky position because there's two things. There's one is his testimony, but then there's the other thing that was his statements that he actually made over Netflix. So now he's introducing slightly contradictory evidence. Now, it must be understood that one was for the purpose of shooting a documentary, and the other one is basically for cross-examination purposes under oath and evidence under oath. So one must take a look that there are effects of editing and things of that nature, and a different way of responding that you would in testimony, as opposed to if you're giving if you're giving an interview, if one could say that. But the problem that has happened is that with the contradictions of certain of the physical evidence, I believe mortem, with his recollection of the events, one must also understand that when the original statements are taken, as in the case with Mr. Madlala, is things will actually change. There will be more details added at a later stage, less details. It's very difficult to go ahead and put everything just on paper. So as a whole, his testimony has come under criticism, and rightfully so, because there have been a lot of also additional details that he seemed to have forgotten. He'll clearly identify some things, but then it would appear that he seems to have that he can't recall other aspects. But I also think that from the way the question has been going, especially from the cross-examination point of view, they're kind of reliant on superfluous and external facts of attacking one specific thing, especially after approximately just short of 10 years that this matter is in actual fact been going on, and one's memory is likely to fade, even if they do go through their statements. There's little details that will never be included in a statement.
Yeah. Does he appear credible, though? Because Advocate Mshololo really went hard trying to discredit some of the statements that he made. And I wonder what the assessment of that credibility will mean when the judge is now assessing the evidence, because he's got to make some declarations on whether or not he found the witness credible. And all these discrepancies and what you've mentioned are going to be fully considered.
I agree with you, Clement. If I can say, and I've got to be careful on how I phrase this, his credibility has proved to be shaky at stages. I'm not saying that he's lying. You can never make the assumption that he's lying. But at the same time, there have been instances of the testimony that have been very shaky and very contradictory in terms of his previous allegations, as well as what he's actually said in his interviews for the docuseries. So that's what's going to affect mainly his credibility, albeit you've got to give the witness a little bit of leeway and look at certain facts of how consistent have they been on certain aspects. He might not have gotten them 100%, but has there been consistency in certain of the basic facts? And that is where I do feel that the witness has been shaky, and the fact that they did require quite lengthy, for what it's worth, re-examination indicated that. And further, since he has been on the stand for such an extensive period of time, it's hard for his credibility not to have been shaken in certain aspects.
The issues of monies that were paid to him by Netflix that were also of focus this week, how crucial is that information in this case, and whether or not he even shared that money with the family?
From a legal perspective, it tarnishes more his character than his credibility. one can be the most evil-natured of human beings. It doesn't mean that they're lying necessarily. So what they've tried to do is just taint him as this greedy individual who basically has shown complete disregard for the family. Was there a major issue that he hasn't shared it? From a legal perspective, he hasn't shared money from the docu-series. That is not a credibility issue that the judge should even be considering. Is there honesty in his testimony about what took place in the events of the evening?
Yeah. The narrative of Senzo Meyiwa allegedly being killed in a scuffle between two other people who were in that house resurfaced this week as well. And of course, Madlala is denying that. But it's pretty clear, even from Advocate Mshololo's line of questioning and even introducing these aspects, they want to try and introduce, this issue as often as possible and test it against what the witnesses say who were in that house. Because as you know, there is that belief from other people, including those that are standing trial, that in fact it was not them who came into that house, but Senzo Meyiwa died because of that scuffle that happened in the house.
That's what it is that we can't disregard the fact that there's still that second docket that's floating around. And if there is one thing that has come out with all the testimony is that the crime scene was doctored. So that there seems to be those facts. So that what the defense is doing, and now since all the drama from the original stuff that was going on with Advocate Tefu has died off, and Timothy Tobani and Zandile Mshololo have actually focused on the facts at hand to try and create this alternative version of other people being responsible. That's why they've also tried to include alibis with regards to one of the accused not being there, that he was busy paying the baller and that type of thing. They're trying to focus on the aspect that it was an internal scuffle and not involving their clients. They're trying to focus more on drawing back to what the contents of the second docket and the involvement of Kelly Kamala and the rest of the social friends that were involved there.
Yeah. Ian Allis, thank you so much for making time for us and giving us some analysis of what transpired in that case this week.